Hi there, and welcome to the Homestead Education Podcast. Do you have a homestead, farm, or just dream of a rural life? This is a show to help you and your kids grow your own food and grow as a person. I'm your host, Kody Hanner. I'm a homesteader, homeschool mom of six, and small town enthusiast. I was raised by an old school rancher and blessed by the grace of God to have been exposed to so much of what rural life has to offer. Join me every week to talk about homesteading, homeschooling, and growth with a homestead education. Hi, and welcome back to the Homestead Education Podcast. I just want to remind you that you can get all of my homestead education books on my website for a new way of teaching agriculture to today's youth and aspiring homesteaders by focusing on small scale farming and self sufficiency. They're also available on Etsy and through many state EFA programs and charter programs. If you're a school or co op and need invoicing, please feel free to reach out to me directly. So last week I came on, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, and talked about my dog Ranger, our Great Pyrenees livestock guardian or farm guardian who went missing. I just wanted to start out right off and just we haven't found him. So we have some plans. We have been very lucky that one of our labs, who was like Ranger's best friend, has pretty much taken on his job, and so that's been really nice. Yeah, however, we do know that long term we need another livestock guardian. And all the prices we were seeing were just really out of our range. And we were iffy on a puppy, we were iffy on an older dog. And so we actually had somebody popped up on Facebook here in North Idaho that had some dogs for sale, very much in our price range, but said that they were willing to go lower for like a working family. And we were so excited, and we reached out to them, and we actually asked them if they would be willing to trade for pork or beef because, we have that on hand all the time through our USDA butcher as well. So they said they were, and so we're making plans. It's going to be about a 5 hour drive one way for us to go get this little guy. It's a male. He's just now ready to go, and we're super excited, and he looks a lot like our ranger. Um, Trying to be on the bright side of that and uh I'm not giving up hope that Ranger may still come back. There's been a lot of stories of Great Pyrenees that lure off wild animals and they like don't come back until the next season, or they get lost in the woods themselves and eventually come back. And I figure, if that is the case for some reason, that's okay because we were planning on getting a new puppy in the next year or so for Ranger to start training. So this is a positive. We're very excited. We don't have a name picked out yet, and if anybody has like some really great name ideas, like I think we'd be open. Like we're very like stuck on Ranger, and so it's kind of sad for us. But we have a very distinct set of names for our dogs and our kids. They all kind of go together. Like we have Savannah and Wyatt, Branch and Wade. Those are our kids, not our dogs. And then for our dogs, we have Duke, Dixie, Cash, Hutch, and Buck. So, we're very like those kind of old-fashioned Western, but we like especially with our dogs, we like short names. Like I don't want to be outside like Bocephus Jr., or whatever. Like it just doesn't work when you're calling dogs on a ranch. You need to be able to call them quickly. So if you have any ideas like that for a male, kind of excited to hear them. I always love ones that are unique. Um, my husband keeps turning down Zebediah, so I think we gotta think of something else. But a little bit into what's going on for me in this new year. Like I wanted to cover the Ranger thing right away because I know a lot of people have been worried, and unfortunately, I don't have good news, but at least I have happy news for our family. Um, so this podcast or this episode is one I look forward to every year. I am very much a new year, new me type person. I feel like I can get down on myself. Um, I also I have really bad seasonal depression. I talked about it last year where I grew up in California and then living in North Idaho. I struggled with seasonal depression in California, but in North Idaho it's even worse. I have to take vitamin D and sit under a light. Um, so going into the new year is always harder. I don't want to say it's hard for me. This time of year is just hard for me. So I try to excite myself by jumping in onto all the New Year, New Me wagons. I get a new planner, I fill out my planner, I buy the kids' planners, I go seed shopping, um, and I reflect back on my year and what I've accomplished in my business and my life, and I look at the things I want to change. And this has actually been my best year in a few years. I've really stayed on top of my seasonal depression. I've hired somebody to help me in my business. The business has been growing. And not only growing, but giving me the opportunity to do some of the creation I've really been wanting to do and opening me up more to teach my kids more, to be more present with my family, to, well, and 2 weeks ago, my husband was actually appointed our local fire chief. And so a year ago, it would have been very hard for him to take that position because of how busy we were in our lives. And having someone on our team now makes it, there's like a third adult, and that makes it really nice. And so, when this opportunity came up for my husband, I was able to just say, honey, I'm proud of you and I'm here for you and like go with it. So this is really exciting. Um, as far as the business goes, just a couple things I want to share with you guys because you've been so supportive of me over the last, oh my gosh, this will be, I think, my fifth year podcasting. We have this is my 165th episode that I'm recording right now. We've had close to 300,000 downloads. I know that's nothing compared to some of the bigger ones, but I know that you guys, you're there for me. And each one of those 300,000 downloads is actually somebody who's listening to my podcast and connecting with my family and learning and sharing. And I think that's just such a huge compliment. Um, Recently, I was doing a little research on my podcast because every year I update my stats and my downloads on like sponsorship forms and things like that, which, by the way, if you are looking for a way to sponsor your business, anyways, or sponsor my business by advertising your business, I am looking for a new sponsor. I only like to have one going at a time because I don't feel like that's the position I'm in to just be watering down how great certain businesses are. So, and I also don't just take anyone on as a sponsor. It has to be somebody that I believe in or I'm partnering with or in some way. So it's not just it's not cheap. And I don't mean cheap like in how much it costs. It actually is pretty inexpensive. But it's not cheap as in I'm not giving like cheap recommendations. Like these are people I care about. So if you have something amazing, reach out to me. Let's talk. I always love to be able to help the small businesses. That's who I am. And there are times that I mean, there's no way I'd be able to afford some of these big advertising fees, but know that that could be a good bump for me. So, anyway, it's just something to think about. I wasn't really planning on going there, but what I was getting at is I had to rerun these numbers to provide to potential sponsors and stuff. And I went and looked it up. And last time I looked, I had a top 10% podcast globally. I now have a top 5% podcast globally. So thank you so much, guys. Like, if you're watching this on YouTube, my face is just like, like ear to ear. It just feels really great because I was worried that maybe numbers were going down because um, Apple Podcasts changed the way they do downloads and count them, and it made my numbers look way worse when really my numbers before were just super inflated. And everybody's seeing the same thing, every podcaster. However, it's been a year since they changed that algorithm, and I was really wondering where I was at. And so to see where I'm at now, it's pretty exciting that I was able to kind of build that back up after having such a big hit. Um, so something else that I do at the beginning of every new year, and I really encourage you guys to do it too. You don't have to, but and a lot of other people do it, but I just have been in love with the idea since day one, and that is not having a New Year's resolution, it's having a New Year's word or phrase. And it has just helped me so much over the last few years because sometimes, like, oh, I'm going to lose 20 pounds and then you gain 5 because it's the holidays and you're like, oh, I give up, and then you're just off the wagon and that's it. And so what I always do is with a word, it's just how you're focusing your life. like where you want to put your life, like what you want to reach, what you want to have be the most important. And at any point you feel yourself straying, you're not actually falling off the wagon. It's just an opportunity to circle back. So I've used words like intentional when I was starting my businesses. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't just jumping around from one thing to another, that I was truly choosing the right things to provide to everybody. I've used the word growth because pretty much every time I struggle in my business, that I struggle in life, if I can just reach out for that word again, I'm always following that word. Last year, though, was a really hard year. And even I didn't record my New Year's podcast until well into the new year. I was feeling, I just couldn't find any motivation for myself. And so it made me feel like an imposter to try to provide motivation to you. So that was a really hard year. And then in my effort to really pull myself out of it, I decided that my word for the year was going to be soar or soaring. That I was just going to take my business and fly with it. And whew, it felt like every hit that I took, I was not living up to what I had promised myself I would because I wasn't soaring. I was doing well. Actually, my assistant and I ran some numbers, looked at some statistics today, like the 5%, and we've done so much better. And that's just amazing. And looking back, I maybe soaring wasn't the right word for me last year, but I did kind of set myself up for failure. But that was on me, not on the word or the system of using a word. So this year, I am actually kind of choosing two words and a phrase, like because if you do it wrong, do it right, extra. So I'm going with like reemerge, redefine, and bringing it home. So there's a few things I've been working on. Some of it I'm not ready to share because it's business things that are still coming to fruition. Some is just I have that opportunity to focus on my family again after several years of the business kind of running our life and not in a bad way. I mean, so many people, family businesses do run the family's lives. And ours has luckily made it where we can travel the country, where we've been able to experience some wonderful things together as a family, and that's not changing. But I am dialing back how much I travel this year. I'm only going to places where I'm speaking or that there's something maybe new I get to go check out. Um, and we're really just going to focus on, the twins who are getting ready to go into their senior year of high school. Well, they're juniors right now, but they're wanting to play some sports through our local high school. They're wanting to start looking at some college classes, and I really need to be there to support them in that. Um, My 8-year-old just realized he can read and wants to read everything, and we are taking some deep dives together. My 5-year-old, who is absolutely not ready for kindergarten at all because he's a spaz. If anybody have listened at all, know anything about Branch, you know that he's a spaz. But I really do need to start taking some time with him, and because he hasn't learned typically, I'll sit down and try to learn with him. If it lasts 5 minutes, great, whatever. But I really need to take some time to really be intentional about how I'm teaching him. I really want to redefine what my business is. There's been a lot of scrambling, trying to just keep up with trends, trying to keep up with um, the amount of orders we get certain times of the year when a lot of times it's just me and my daughter trying to keep up with all of it. Um, and we have an opportunity this year where I'm not even stepping back from the business. In fact, we plan on hitting it a lot harder, but we're doing it with a different set of help and in a few different directions that will make it where that's a possibility. So now that you've heard about me and what we're doing and our business, um, I hope you're, sitting back and cheering us on and knowing that you guys are a big part of that and that I have some really exciting news on some things coming in the future. I think this year is going to be a really defining year, which is great because one of my words is redefine. Um, with that, I know that a lot of you feel the same way I do, and you're busting out your planners right now and you're trying to look at how to make life easier and get your kids on board and get your husband on board and all these different things. And it made me really think about, every year I always try to support people in their homestead businesses this time of year. That's something that I always reinvent my business this time of year. So I always try to help somebody else reinvent theirs. But this year, I want to help you guys with your families and your children. And if you don't have children, that's okay because this still will apply to you. Um, and I want to talk a little bit about executive functioning. I struggle with executive functioning. I have ADHD. Um, I've had a little trauma in my life. And sometimes I have a really hard time jump starting myself, for the lack of a better word. Or then suddenly I'm so jump started, I have so many things going on, I can't complete them all, and then I get burnout, and it's a bad spiral. And that's all part of executive functioning. Um, we kind of have an epidemic in the United States of, I don't want to just sit here and blame it on public school, but it's a societal thing, and I talk about it a lot, where executive functioning and just life skills in general haven't been valued. And, there's times where I think, oh my gosh, I'm part of this movement that so many wonderful changes are coming from it, and that I'm a part of that, and that's really exciting. And then I'll be teaching a class of kids that I feel like are my people. Parents who really care about the same things I do and the same things moving forward. And um, I will end up occasionally with kids who do not have skills that I'm really surprised that they don't have based on what I know about their families. And so I was talking to um, one of my friends about it. Actually, one of her kids is in my class. And I was kind of like, hey, I mean, I just have to ask. This isn't like a finger pointing. This is, have you ever worked with your son on this skill? And she was like, I don't think I have. And it was just kind of this like realization that whether our kids are in public school or they're homeschooled or wherever, that these skills are just not um, seen as an importance. In public schools, they're really going downhill on some of this stuff. Because it's just all about the test scores. It's not about whether or not the child can function in life. I mean, what I'm actually referring to right now is using a ruler. I had a group of kids. The youngest was 8, the oldest was 17, and one of them knew how to use a ruler. One. And I was just shocked. And that, I even started to reflect on myself. There's so much I do with my kids, and yeah, my kids, they just experience everything and they're doing everything. But I even noticed that sometimes, like when, say, for example, we're using a ruler or a tape measure, a lot of times I'll just say, here, you hold this end, and what number do you see? I'm not actually teaching them how to use it. And I'm the first one to say kids are going to learn more doing hands-on. I think if I handed my kids a worksheet on how to use a ruler, they wouldn't really care. But if I took them out and said, like, hey, this is what we're doing, and if you don't do this right, whatever we're building or something is going to fall over, they're going to be more apt to do it. And so it just really like clicked for me that executive functioning needs to be much more closely tied to cause and effect. Or if you really want to take it further than that, it needs to be tied to consequences. And I'm not talking consequences like, grounding your kids or whatever, which sometimes that might be the consequence. We are huge on natural consequences, but sometimes natural consequences don't just come if the parents continue to enable the situation, and they have to be constructed, but we try to make sure that they mirror what a natural consequence would be. One situation we have is we really struggle with one of our kids getting up on time. He's 17, but he's the one who like milks the cows. If he doesn't get up on time, it sets our whole day off. Like I can't start school with the other kids, and just it goes on from there. Or if I do start school with the other kids, then I have to take time to catch him up, or then we're running late to co-op or whatever it is. And it's really a struggle. So what we started doing is if he gets up on time, life's good. If he doesn't get up on time, we keep his phone for the day. The next day, he has an opportunity to get it back. And we decided on that one because, of course, he's a teenager and likes his phone. But if we ground him and say, oh, we're taking your phone for a week, then what's his motivation each day to get that phone back? And also, if he had a job and he was showing up late to work or not going to work, eventually he wouldn't be able to afford his phone, so he would lose it. So that's kind of like the constructed natural consequence that we provided to him. Now, there's definitely things of the natural consequences of if you don't know how to read a ruler and you help build something and it falls over and you have to rebuild it, that kind of stinks. So that kind of cause and effect. And that's something that's seen a lot in homesteading. And I think that that raises the responsibility bar for adults, for kids. I mean, whatever you want to plug in there. But if you don't water the plants, they die. And whether you want them, as a teenager or a kid, sometimes you're like, I don't really care about the plants. But there's still that visual cause and effect that they can see. Where if you tell a kid, like, oh, if you don't do your math in seventh grade, you're never going to get into a good college. And they're like, yeah, so? Like, that's fine. I don't want to go to college, or I'll do better on my next math test, or whatever it is that, they're doing. It's an abstract concept. And there's definitely kids that that's their focus, but not all kids are like that. Are you looking for new ways to advertise your business? I would like to invite you to advertise your business on the Homestead Education Podcast. Did you know that 60% of listeners will make a purchase after hearing an ad on a podcast? Why is this? Because personal connections and credibility from someone they truly trust will give you the best conversions. My podcast has been on the air for over 3 years now, and with an average of 5,000 downloads per episode and tons of long term listeners, you're bound to have somebody who will find that credibility in me. All ad spots will be promoted on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and my weekly newsletter. I have podcast sponsorship spots available that are affordable for all business sizes. And all advertising revenue will be used towards my educational outreach in the form of travel costs, curriculum development, supplies, and the administration of such activities. Go to my show notes now or visit thehomesteadeducation.com/podcast dash sponsorship. I hope to hear from you soon. And let's face it, college isn't what it used to be. So, and it's that, basically, yeah, that it's abstract and they can't see or feel the impact of these consequences. And there's adults out there that have the same problem. And so I really want to point out how homesteading and, I hope I'm not losing you here because I have a lot of people that go, well, you talk about homesteading, but I'm not a homesteader, but I like your homeschool content, like it kind of goes back and forth. Homesteading is just bringing things back home. It's a sliding scale of like opting out of systems. So, wherever you are on that sliding scale, if you said we are homeschoolers, you opted out of the system of public schooling. I think that classifies you as a homesteader. I bet you anything that as soon as you pulled your kids home, you learned how to bake bread. So, we're solid. You're a full-blown homesteader. But the concept with that is that we're bringing things, like I said, back home. We are homeschoolers. We are homemakers. We are stay-at-home moms. We are the homestead part, we're growing our own food at home. And that's just where that kind of concept comes from. That isn't me, getting 640 acres from the government out in the middle of nowhere and I have to prove it up in 5 years. Like, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about staking a claim on your home and building it. And that can be metaphorical as well. Um, so what I'm getting at is homesteading at whatever level it is that we're discussing is character building and it builds executive functioning skills in your average adult, your neurodivergent children, and even children with developmental disabilities. And I'm saying this because I have all of it. I'm neurodivergent. I have neurodivergent kids. I have children with developmental disabilities, and they thrive on a farm where they can see that cause and effect. And everybody I've talked to, the people I've worked with, Temple Grandin herself, if you don't know who she is, go check out Temple Grandin. She is autistic and, has just been an amazing person. She has told me, like, face to face, keep your son working. And that's what is going to help him. And it absolutely 100% has been. And honestly, even to this day at 17, he has times where he struggles, he gets dysregulated. And rather than being like, oh, do you need a nap? I'm like, you're going to go rake leaves until you're so tired you crash and burn and sleep tonight. And tomorrow you'll be re-regulated again. And I've talked to his counselor and his psychiatrist, and they're like, yeah, like, why would we try to, give him a sleeping pill or whatever and have him take a nap and get him even more dysregulated because he took a nap in the middle of the day? Stay up, work hard, sleep at night, and you're going to be a functioning human tomorrow. So, I have put together a little bit it's a free download. It's all wadded up because I was looking at it today. But it's executive functioning for Homestead kids. How real responsibility builds capable and confident learners. Like I said, this goes for adults too. I mean, it's absolutely worth the free download. And you know, and I'll link that in the show notes, don't worry. However, the thing is with this is that I mean, you're gonna build like let me kind of back up a little bit because I think I did kind of like scoot over what executive functioning is. And I really just want to say it's like the set of skills that helps a child or an adult plan, focus, follow through, manage time, and regulate their emotions. So it's all those things that make everything else in your life work. And if you don't have those things, it's challenging. Um, and they aren't a skill that you can learn on a piece of paper or on a worksheet. It's things that you have to do, that you have to be moving through your life. And the problem is so many people don't have purpose. And the purpose that they do have is just you get up, you go to work, you ride the bus, you go to school, you do this, and everything you're just doing what you're told, and you're not building these true executive functioning skills. You're just like checking boxes. You're just getting in line and following everyone else. To really truly build these skills, you have to practice them, you have to repeat them, you have to physically do them, and it eventually it falls into place. And the reason why this works on a homestead is because guess what? Animals don't wait. They need to be fed every single day. And if you are struggling with executive functioning that has you get out of bed to go feed an animal, guess what? Your animal's not going to grow as fast. It's going to cost you money. You might even have an animal die. And those are the things that really truly make changes. Not that I want a child to have their animal die because they wouldn't get out of bed. And we've never let that happen. But I mean, I've had animals not grow as well because they weren't, getting us enough food and that's costing us more money. Um, but as an adult, if I were to just be like, I'm gonna sleep in and maybe I'll feed the cows today, maybe I won't, like there's no one there to come save me and feed my cows. It's only me. So if I don't feed my cows are going to die. I mean, that's just how it goes. And so like just it makes it where homesteading just gives people more purpose. Like, yeah, if you don't show up to your accounting job, I don't think anyone's gonna die. If you're a doctor and you don't show up to that job, somebody might die. But there might be somebody else there that can do the same job as you. And so that's kind of it makes a difference when you have that purpose for your family, to an individual animal that you're working with, to your own land. It makes such a difference with the kids and as an adult too. But what ends up being a huge problem is not knowing what kids are capable of on the farm. Because for one, you can print out all these chore charts that say your 2-year-old should be able to take cups to the table, and that should be their chore. And you're like, great. So I have a chore for my 2-year-old when it's time to cook dinner. But what about the other 15 hours I'm spending all day long with them on the farm? Whether you actually want to give them an actual responsibility that's theirs, or if you just want to let them try things, what is appropriate? So in here, I've also put together um, a list of age appropriate chores for the homestead. Some of them are things like, helping in the kitchen, but some of them are like, at what age would you expect your children to be able to help butcher an animal? And also, at what age would you expect your children to be able to independently handle certain steps of butchering an animal? For us, our little guys, they're helping package and grind meat from day one. Once they hit like tweens age, they're working side by side with me as much as I am. We have two 17-year-olds now. Like, we're usually there to supervise, but I mean, we butchered chickens. I mean, they're the ones setting up the equipment, going and gathering up the birds. They're helping butcher. The next day, they're helping us, put them in the bags and label them and put them in the freezer. And we're talking about why, like the importance of the steps. And the whole time, my 5 and 8-year-old are watching this and they are wanting to do all those steps because when they see us doing it, when they see their big siblings doing it, they want to be a part of that. So, but what we do as a society, we say, no, you're in the way. It's too dangerous. It's going to take me too long to do that. Go watch TV. Go play, go do something else. And so that these children are learning that their role in life is to do something else besides participate in their own lives. So get these kids out there doing things. I'm not saying your 2-year-old should be butchering. I mean, I had a 2-year-old who was all about it, but every child is different. Um, but they're absolutely capable of gathering eggs. They're absolutely capable of putting those eggs in an egg carton. Um, they're capable of picking up sticks in the yard before you mow. You might want to check, but they're capable of doing it. Um, I mean, it goes on as to what they're capable of doing. And there's so many different ways that you can support yourself and your kids in executive functioning. One of the big ones is learning like time management. And everybody thinks that time management is just making sure you get places on time and blah 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 blah. Spend some time with your kids and have them time themselves to do their chores. Um, Set a timer before they go feed. Tell them just go do your feeding like you normally would. When they get back, show them how long it took so that they have that realization. So otherwise, you're just this like nagging voice being like, you need to get out the door and hurry up and do your chores because we have somewhere we need to be. When you can say it takes you between 45 minutes and an hour to get your chores done, and we have to leave in an hour and a half to go to town. Today, if you want time to get a shower before we leave town, you're going to have to keep your feeding at 45 minutes. Okay, now you can go. But they know what a 45-minute feeding looks like versus an hour-long feeding. And if you struggle with getting your chores done, time yourself too. And I know sometimes as adults, we're like, oh man, okay, that took me an hour and a half. And you're looking at your watch the whole time or looking at your phone. But have you actually sat down and wrote out how long it takes you to accomplish different skills in your day? Probably not. And especially when you start that with like the real little ones, how long does it take you to get dressed? How long does it take you to brush your teeth? That's how you really learn time management because you're just aware of what's happening around you. Another one is just modeling hard work, modeling planning, next steps, modeling how you keep yourself organized. And if you don't, start. Like, get yourself organized, show your kids how you're doing it, and help keep each other accountable, especially if they're older kids, like in their tweens. You can be like, hey, this is a hard place for me. What's a hard place for you? Let's work together. Um, but I have 10 skills in here that you can follow. I have a whole list of um chores that are appropriate for different ages. But something that I tell everyone, and I've said it for years, I even have it on a coffee cup, but chores are an obligation, but responsibilities are a privilege. Nobody wants to do a monotonous chore that they have to do every day. But when you remind someone how privileged they are to have the things in their life to get to do those chores, it's really, really a huge difference. There's like something on my screen. Anyways, so with that, I just want to tell you guys a little bit about some products that I have. Um, Last fall, we came out with the Homestead Education Student Planner. Now, it is a beauty. I wish I had one sitting here. I should have had one sitting here. But my whole office is still in like Christmas zone. So there's like tape and wrapping paper. I just like shoved it off to the side. That's where my executive functioning comes in. I made these beautiful planners for teenagers that whether they go to public school or homeschool, they can fill out what they're doing, they can keep track of their job hours, their sports hours, remind themselves to drink water, to get enough hours sleep. It has a place in there to track their budgets, to track their livestock projects. That's one I really made sure I put in because how many of our rural kids are raising a pig for the county fair? And yes, we have our 4-H record books, but are we packing around our 4-H record book with our school planner? Probably not. So just write it all in one place. And when it's time to do your record book, you have all the information right there. Whether you do it throughout the year or you're like my family who's up till midnight the night before fair trying to finish everything, at least it's all in one spot. Um, I also, in their planners, there is a place for them to track like gardens. There's information on what chores need to be done certain times of the year. Because for these teenagers and tweens, like 12 and up, kind of in that age group, these kids should be well aware of what's happening on your homestead at the same time as you, so that there's more ownership in accomplishing the task and it's not just you giving them the tasks. However, because I just love helping kids with their executive functioning, I decided to release a junior planner. So we now have junior homestead planners. My daughter's actually on the other side of the door here, printing and binding those as we speak. So they'll be ready to ship out when we launch. I say they're launching tomorrow, but I'm recording right now. Um, so you'll be able to order those. There's probably going to be a little bit of a launch discount, wink, wink. Um, so make sure you go grab those. Give your kids like the best start for the new year because it's something that you can sit down and do with them. Unfortunately, I don't have an adult planner yet, maybe one day, but go out, get yourself a planner, print one offline. I mean, if you can't find one you love at Walmart, you can go to Etsy and find a ton that you can print off yourself. Stick it in a binder, um, and you're good to go. You can do these planners with your kids, set goals with them, and it's just going to give everybody the best start because I'm sorry, how many times as a mom have you been like, new year, new me, and nobody else is on board? It's not because they don't love you. It's not because they don't share your vision or that they don't want to get on board with an organized life. It's because they don't have the tools to do it. So make sure you go grab my new student planners that are made for our homestead rural kids. I hope everybody learned something and that you'll keep growing. I will, I think I have one more episode and then I'm going to take my winter break and we're going to be coming back strong with season 7. Thank you, everybody, and I will see you soon. Thank you for joining me today at the Homestead Education, and I hope that I have given you something to think about this week. To help others find me, please comment and leave a review on your favorite podcast player. You can also follow me on Facebook at the Homestead Education and Instagram at Homestead_education. Do you have questions that you would like answered or just want to say hi? Please email me at hello@thehomesteadeducation.com. Until next time, keep growing!